After 38 years of symbiote mythology, of alien gods and black living armor and cosmic horror, Marvel Comics has finally shown us what Venom becomes when it reaches the absolute top. Let's go back to the beginning. 1984. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars, Issue 8. Peter Parker finds a strange black alien costume on Battleworld. It bonds to him. It looks incredible. It feels perfect, and it never wants to let go. That black costume was the first symbiote the Marvel Universe ever saw. And at the time, nobody had any idea what they were unleashing. When Spider-Man rejected the symbiote, when he literally used church bells to rip it off his body, the alien didn't die. It survived. It was filled with grief, with rage. And it found someone who shared that rage, a disgraced reporter named Eddie Brock. Together, they became Venom. For years, symbiotes were treated as simple alien parasites. Dangerous, aggressive, powerful, but ultimately just creatures, living weapons from a planet nobody could name. Then Marvel started digging deeper. And the deeper they dug, the more extraordinary the mythology became. Symbiotes weren't just parasites. They were cosmic entities, ancient weapons, creatures born from the very fabric of darkness before light existed. And they were connected, all of them, through something called the hive mind, a single network of shared consciousness stretching across the universe. Every symbiote that ever lived was part of that network. Every bond they formed, every host they consumed, every secret they absorbed, all of it flowing through one invisible dark web. And at the center of that web, there was a god. Before we get to that god, let's talk about just how powerful symbiotes got on their own. The original Venom could do things Spider-Man couldn't. It could mask its presence from his spider sense completely. It could mimic any clothing or disguise. It could shoot organic webbing without a mechanical shooter. It could grow massive, 10 feet tall if it needed to, or compress down to almost nothing. But that was just the beginning. When Venom spawned Carnage, when Cletus Kasady bonded with Venom's offspring in prison, the power level jumped dramatically. Carnage could shape its mass into bladed weapons. Axes, spears, razor-edged tendrils that could tear through steel like tissue paper. And because Carnage was born in blood, it was more aggressive, more unpredictable, and fundamentally harder to control. Then came the Life Foundation experiments. 5 symbiotes forcibly spawned from Venom and grafted onto unwilling human hosts. Scream, Agony, Riot, Lasher, Phage, each one with specialized abilities. Each one a new evolution of what a symbiote body could do. And that was just the street level. Toxin, Carnage's offspring, Venom's grandchild, was said to be more powerful than both of its predecessors combined. The symbiote lineage was evolving with every generation, growing stronger, growing smarter, growing towards something none of them could name yet. Then came Donny Cates. When Cates took over the Venom title in 2018, he didn't just tell a new Venom story. He rewrote the entire origin of everything. He looked at 30 years of symbiote mythology and asked one question: where do they come from? The answer was Knull. Knull, the god of the abyss, the king in black, an entity who existed before the universe itself, before light, before life, before anything. When the Celestials, those ancient, towering cosmic gods, first brought light into the darkness, Knull woke up, and he was furious. He reached into the void between the stars, tore a piece of that primordial darkness from reality itself, and forged it into a blade. That blade was all black, the Necrosword, the first symbiote weapon, the ancestor of every living black costume that ever existed. Every symbiote in Marvel Comics, Venom, Carnage, Toxin, all of them, was a piece of Knull, a fragment of divine darkness given life, a living weapon built to serve an ancient god of oblivion. The King in Black event saw Knull himself arrive on Earth, not as a vision, not as a threat from a distance. He came personally, riding a dragon made of pure living darkness the size of a continent, and he wrapped the entire planet in his symbiote armor. Blackout, silence, no stars, no signals, nothing. Earth fell in hours. Gods fought him. sorcerers, the entire Avengers roster. All of them lost. Only one person was left standing. Eddie Brock. Here's what makes Eddie Brock different from every other symbiote host in Marvel history. He didn't just survive the bond. He changed it. Over decades of stories, Eddie and the Venom symbiote didn't just share a body. They genuinely became something together. A partnership, a friendship, a relationship that defied everything science and mysticism said should be possible. And then, in The King in Black, something extraordinary happened. Eddie died, not metaphorically, not temporarily in the way superhero deaths usually work. He was killed. And in that moment between life and death, in that space where the darkness of Knull met the silence of the beyond, Eddie Brock discovered something on the other side. The all-light. If Knull is the living embodiment of the void, the darkness before creation, then the all-light is its opposite. The force of life and creation itself. The cosmic brightness that existed in balance with the void since the very first moment of existence. And it recognized Eddie Brock. Why him? Because of everything he had endured. Every time he'd been broken and rebuilt. Every sacrifice. Every loss. Every moment of holding the darkness at bay through sheer human will. The All-Light didn't choose a god. It didn't choose an Avenger or a Sorcerer Supreme. It chose a man. Eddie Brock was resurrected. Not just restored to life, but transformed. Elevated. Infused with the power of the All-Light itself. He came back not as a human bonded to a symbiote. He came back as a cosmic being wearing one. And when Eddie Brock returns from beyond death, he looks nothing like Venom. Gone is the black living armor. Gone are the white eyes glowing against darkness. Gone is every visual cue that said, symbiote host. What stands in their place is something that has never existed in 38 years of Marvel Comics history. The armor is white. Pure white. Not gray. Not off-white. Luminous, blazing white, like something pulled out of star. Across his chest runs a massive emblem. A spider-dragon hybrid that seems to pulse with its own energy. It's ancient and cosmic and utterly unlike anything we've seen on a symbiote before. Spiked armor erupts from his shoulders and arms. Not the organic, fluid spikes of a combat symbiote, but crystalline projections that seem to radiate light. They're weapons and shields and antennas all at once. And he has wings. Massive, sweeping wings made of pure symbiote matter, capable of carrying him across space itself. But the visual power is only the beginning. In this form, the illuminated form, Eddie Brock has access to the entire symbiote hive mind. Not just the ability to communicate through it. He can feel every symbiote that exists. Every bond, every host, every secret the hive has ever held across billions of years. And he can change it. Think about what that means. The hive mind is the operating system of every symbiote in the universe. And Eddie Brock now has administrator access. He could, in theory, rewrite what symbiotes are, what they want, how they bond, whether they serve Knull or something else entirely. This is not Venom anymore. This is not a symbiote host with extraordinary willpower. This is a cosmic architect wearing the flesh of a god. And then comes the confrontation that reshapes the Marvel Universe. Eddie Brock, in his illuminated form, faces Knull, the god of the abyss, the creator of symbiotes, the darkness before time, an entity so powerful that Thor, with all his lightning, with Mjolnir at full force, couldn't scratch him. And Eddie Brock overpowers him, not through brute strength, not by hitting harder or moving faster, but by doing something Knull never expected and could barely comprehend. Eddie turns the hive mind against its own creator. Every symbiote that ever bonded with a worthy host. Every creature that learned what love and sacrifice and loyalty felt like through the bond it shared with a human being, Eddie reaches into all of them. He channels that collective experience, all that shared pain and hope and humanity, flowing through the hive mind at once. And he aims it at Knull like a weapon. For the first time in his existence, Knull, the god of the abyss, the king in black, is pushed back. The darkness recoils. And in that moment, the entire Marvel Universe holds its breath. Because if Eddie Brock can stand against a god who defeated armies of Avengers and wrapped an entire planet in darkness, then the question is no longer whether symbiotes are powerful. The question is, how far does this go? Let's step back and look at the full picture. In 1984, symbiotes were alien costumes. Interesting, dangerous, fun. By the 1990s, they were supervillains and anti-heroes. Venom, Carnage, the Life Foundation. Street-level threats. City-scale chaos. By the 2000s, symbiotes were government experiments, secret weapons, political tools. The scale had grown to national threats. Then came Knull, and suddenly symbiotes were ancient cosmic weapons created by a god before the universe had stars. The scale jumped from street level to universal. And now, with the illuminated form of Eddie Brock, we've taken another leap. Because Eddie isn't just a being who can fight on a cosmic level. He's a being who can reshape the cosmic order of symbiotes itself. Think about the implications of that for the Marvel Universe going forward. Every story involving a symbiote is now shadowed by a single question. Does Eddie Brock know about this? Does he feel it through the hive mind? And if he chooses to intervene, what happens then? There are thousands of symbiotes across Marvel continuity. On Earth, on alien worlds, in the hands of heroes and villains and creatures that have no concept of human morality. All of them now potentially connected to a being who has both the power and the perspective to rewrite what symbiotes mean. Marvel has essentially introduced a new kind of cosmic entity. Not a god in the traditional sense, not detached and omnipotent and uncaring, but a god shaped by human experience. A cosmic being who still remembers what it felt like to be Eddie Brock, broke, sick, disgraced, holding onto the symbiote as the only thing in his life that didn't abandon him. That memory is his greatest weapon, and his greatest responsibility. 38 years ago, a black alien costume landed on a wall crawler in a dimension far from home. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody could have imagined, not in their wildest speculation, that the story of that costume would one day expand into a mythology that spans billions of years, touches the origins of the universe, and ultimately produces a being powerful enough to challenge the god of the abyss himself. But here we are, Eddie Brock, the disgraced journalist, the cancer survivor, the man who swore to destroy Spider-Man and instead found something that looked like family in the most unlikely of places, is now a cosmic being. A living bridge between the darkness and the light. An entity who carries the weight of the entire symbiote species in his hands. Marvel has made it clear, symbiotes have no ceiling. Every time we thought we understood the limit, every time we said this is as powerful as they get, the story pushed further, deeper, higher. And if the illuminated form of Eddie Brock is the next step on that journey, then the step after that may place him among the most powerful beings the Marvel Universe has ever produced. Not just Avenger level, not just cosmic level, something new, something that doesn't have a category yet. That here's your full cinematic YouTube script, rendered as a styled script document with all 9 sections, director notes, and on-screen callouts built in. A few things to note about the script's structure and choices. Pacing architecture. The hook opens with silence and escalation. It punches hard in under 20 seconds. Each section is calibrated to build. History, powers, mythology, transformation, revelation, confrontation, future, payoff. This mirrors the structure of high-performing Marvel lore channels like Comics Explained or Variant. Director notes are included throughout in the italicized gray blocks to help guide B-roll selection, music cues, and visual timing. Useful if you're editing or briefing a video editor. The illuminated form power grid in section 6 doubles as a great visual for on-screen text/infographic overlays during that segment. The final line, "The universe was building toward him all along," is designed to land as the video's defining quote and a strong thumbnail candidate.